D-Day is a historical event where the Allies took a stand and pushed the Axis back, changing the tide of World War II. Against all odds and all risks, the Allies managed to pull this operation off. However, it was no miracle that allowed the Allies to win over D-Day. Many things had to go right, and many things didn't go right. But this shows how the Allies bypassed the risks and took a stand against D-Day. But there is some information that needs to be known before Normandy happened.
World War II started on September 1st, 1939, when Hitler and the Axis forces started fighting other nations so they could possess more territory and spread communism. France surrendered early into the war, and Russia's relations with Germany had ended. They had started fighting back, and Axis powers nearly led to Spain. However, they wouldn't take Spain, as Spain had a neutral relationship with Germany. This allowed Germany to move troops in unopposed.
The Axis was made up of 3 countries: Italy, Japan, and Germany. Axis actually didn't want anything to do with America until Europe and most of Axis enemies were defeated. They also didn't plan on America doing anything, or being in the war at all, until Axis powers wanted to take the fight to American-held fronts. For most of the war, their plan was staying clear. They had almost completely destroyed Britain and were starting to face most of the Soviet Russia's forces on Russia. It was when the Japanese forced America into the war in 1941. This event is nationally known as the attack on Pearl Harbor. The reason we started helping Britain, however, was because British traded their top-secret military technology for Americans' assistance during the war. Though most of America's efforts were prioritized in the Pacific Theater to try to get back at Japan for what they had done.
The Allies had prepared for D-Day since 1942 and was scheduled for June 5, 1944. At this time, they would use 156,000 troops, a few tanks, along with 13,000 paratroopers and 3,900 gliders carrying artillery guns and troops. There were 40,000 landing crafts and 12,000 naval ships, which sounds like a lot, but as they were planning the invasion out, the Axis also had overwhelming forces. The Allies were also up against some of Germany's best men. Many things needed to go right in order for D-Day to be considered a successful mission, like a full moon was needed to illuminate the obstacles for the infantry and the navy. The tides also needed to be high in order to avoid underwater obstacles to damage or result in capsizing the boats the infantry was sent in. So then it was confirmed. On June 5th, the invasion would take place. However, the invasion had a flaw in the time it was made. A major storm was passing, and it would severely affect the outcome of the battle. This information was not known until one day a man, Captain James Stagg, came into the room that saved D-Day forever. Stagg suggested an urgent last-minute delay. June 5th was supposed to be the best day for Normandy landings. However, a storm was passing and would severely decline the amount of troops and would just stop the invasion. But if the invasion did happen, the barrage would be a complete failure, the destroyers would be capsized, and there was no chance of success. So, the landing was pushed back a day, to June 6, 1944. D-Day was looked as the Hail Mary of all their plans, their last chance. Russia was in a time of need, and the rest of the Allies were stuck in Italy. Therefore, they came up with D-Day as a plan to win over Normandy and start the Operation Overlord. Then, it's the start of the beginning of the Axis losing. The intelligence also played a huge role in D-Day. The United States and British agencies made the Axis spies believe that the invasion was taking place in Calais, a French city close to Britain. The Axis were skeptical that the invasion was taking place there, but when seeing tanks and soldiers, they were easily convinced. This is actually the Ghost Army that had inflatable tanks and vehicles to make it look like an army was there. This gave the Allies a chance of success against the Axis in Normandy to take a stand. Germany had learned about the invasion of Normandy and began to set up defenses. The defenses included tank and infantry traps, pillboxes, and foxholes with a wide variety of calibers used. There were some heavier weapons like anti-tank missiles and a tank battalion that was never deployed to defend the Normandy shores. The largest part of Germany did for the defense was they built an Atlantic Wall. The Atlantic Wall held massive guns along with troops that had heavy machine guns and gun loaders that needed to place rounds into the gun for them. The Atlantic Wall was ordered by Adolf Hitler and was approved and started to build in 1942. It was built by 500,000 French workers. The project was finished in time before the mass Normandy landings that would be later known as D-Day in 1944. The Atlantic Wall was also used greatly in propaganda as thought as the impenetrable defenses for when the day the Allies would come and attack.
The night before the assault, planes had launched and naval guns fired upon the shores of Normandy. The bombs did very little because the German defenses were dug in and the storm had just passed by. The winds were still high and caused the shells to land a couple hundred yards or even miles away. The shells on most of the beaches were very inaccurate and had very little impact. The commotion gave the gliders and paratroopers cover as they fell from the planes, defenseless until they hit the ground. However, the same problem as the shells had, the paratroopers landed miles away from their original target.
The troops had dropped onto the shores early the next morning. The troops had arrived onto the beaches in waves. The tanks arrived in the first and second waves. After that, the men were without large gun support. Most of the men in the initial assault had died or were wounded, but the Allies continued the assault. The initial wave was made up of engineers that were supposed to take out the obstacles in the way for the other waves. It was also made up of tanks. Out of Gold, Utah, Juneau, Sword, and Omaha Beach was the bloodiest of all of them. They had to overcome many complications, including the Atlantic Wall. Some other complications include underestimating the amount of German troops on the beachfronts. The storm that passed still caused wind, making the aerial and naval bombardments heavily inaccurate, doing little to no damage. The 29 amphibious tanks that were sent to help Omaha Beach and only 2 of the tanks made it ashore. The first few waves were shot down without making much progress, but as bloody as it was, they had to capture the beach, because it was a critical link between Omaha Beach and Gold Beach. If lost, the Axis could use this to their advantage, which was still holding the beach. Then they would tear the two armies apart and suppress the soldiers on the beach, creating more of a disruption in the time to take Normandy. It had taken the Allies almost all day to capture the beachheads, but when they did, there was little time. They had to continue their push into Italy and the Axis land until they eventually found and killed the Third Reich.
The men that had fought on the shores of Normandy had taken a very serious risk. All of the soldiers knew that there was a good chance they wouldn't be going home that day. Yet every soldier fought, and many, sadly, ended up giving their lives to take the beachheads. There were reasons the fight were drilled into their brains, and that those reasons were to take a stand and stop Hitler and his plans to spread communism and world domination. But the one idea that stood out to these soldiers was that they needed to protect their country and their freedom, for they are the only ones that could defend our nation from the Axis powers.